told her, she shut the phone down on me.
The lady.
Yeah, she shut the phone down on me.
Yes.
Before, so I thought, well, the next thing I can do is take my letter and put it in the door.
All right, that's good. That already, we already discussed that. We're repeating this.
I know, but
what about the Indian dude with the cable wire? So he was putting cable wire. What company you were working? You were working for the consul. So
no,
this dude appeared.
No, I wasn't working for the council.
No.
I was doing a private job.
You were
I was doing the gardening work.
A gardening job. And then you know the owner. And you see this young man, Indian dude from India. And they say to the dude, yo, I do the wiring.
That's for this person.
For this person. And you were the witness of that. He was doing a little thing. And then, but he was employed by you?
No, I had nothing to do with it.
No.
But I saw it. I thought the biggest fiddle that was. In other words, he was trying to make a bigger job. Say, for instance, you had the light bulb gone, and that's a bit of wire gone. Now you would just finish the wire. You wouldn't do the whole of the 3 rooms.
Yes. So he was doing the 3 rooms.
In other words, he was trying to make a bigger job than what it actually was.
Yes, I hear you. And then what happened? Who fired him? You fired him, or somebody else fired him?
They had to come to some agreement because he was doing a private job.
Yes.
So they had to come to agreement. How far could he go?
Yes, with the homeowner.
With the homeowner.
Yes.
And what I was doing, I had a hedge to cut.
Yes, a hedge to cut.
Which was next door to the woman I was telling you about.
Yes.
Which is what
the Indian dude was there in the neighbor's house.
And all it wanted.
Yes.
Was they let the old bushes had gone rough.
Yes.
In other words, they hadn't got anything. So what I'd done, I encouraged some new growth to come up.
Yes.
And what they did, eventually, all that is now a lovely hedge.
Lovely hedge, yes, I heard you.
When I first came,
yes,
there were just stumps.
Stumps, yes.
Where the trees, where the bushes would have been.
Yes, so they had less time to grow.
I said to them at the time,
yes.
Sit down again, it's all right.
Okay.
What I said at the time,
all right.
It's just like stumps, see?
Yes.
And I said, well, you want some more trees.
Yes.
You know, in other words, you want some new ones to be filled in.
Yes, yes.
So what I did, I found a lot of new stuff growing. So what I done, I retrained, and over the period, the 2 hedges grew up.
Yes.
And I re-grated it so they all filled in, and now it's a beautiful hedge all the way.
Yes.
And they didn't know what to do. They had an old stump and plenty of new growth.
Yes.
And as I was doing next door, the people, they said, what are you doing with the old Indians? And the Indians were making money from the National Health because he was a dentist.
Yes.
And he wasn't too bad, but I wouldn't want a lot to do with them. But
yes.
And anyway, he got on quite well. The boys were a bloody menace because they were always throwing something.
Yes.
And the old girl didn't really struck because he was all right.
Yes, and then
anyway, that was that main bit.
Yes.
And there is another bit of the story to the back fence, but that's the question asking at the moment. All they had, when they took it over, there was just stumps where the hedges would have been.
Yes,
and it was just growing. It was all over the shop.
Yes.
So I said to them, I said that would, if that was retrained and get some of that stuff, I said in a short while you'll have a hedge.
Oh.
And what she couldn't understand is, you know, in other words, they have a proper hedge. Because what they do, all the bottom stuff would just grow up quite
grow up, yes. If you put the seeds, they will grow up as well.
And they had a lot of runners as well. So what it means that all those shoots came up. And what they'd done before was a stump here, a stump there, and a bush there.
Yes.
And nothing. And I thought, well, that's a bit silly. It either means get some new plants.
Yes.
And grow it up. And I thought, well, I don't know. When I looked at it, I thought, if I take that part of that stump, all those new shoots will grow up.
Yes.
Okay? And what I done, I retrained them all.
Okay.
And then when she looked after it, and then she said, you know what Indians are like. They tell you to do the back garden, and you end up doing the back and front. They're a sods for that.
Yes.
You have to be careful on that. There's an old trick they used to do. They say, come and do the garden. So you do the garden.
Yes.
And then if you don't watch out, you end up doing something else as well.
Oh, and you for free.
And you'd sometimes don't get paid for it.
Yes.
The old Indians are crafty buggers like that.
Oh, charming everybody. So then it was the dudes with the cable who they tried to...
and what he done...
Yes, to scam that lady. And then you tell the lady and say, yo, this dude is trying to scam you or something.
And then oh yes, and then there was I hadn't told you about all these incidents.
Yes.
And that was all down Selston, boy.
Selston.
When I haven't told you all the story. There was some years ago now.
The
but I actually never forgotten
70s, yes.
And I haven't forgotten them. And what it is, some of the memory of me now is coming up much sharper now.
Yes.
And anyway, and so he was sent up to tidy up the wires. They were, loft. So in the end, this big loft, and then the light bulb. So she said, oh, well, one of the lights don't work. So he went up there, and he was only supposed to do one light bulb.
Yes.
So when he got up there, he's found all this other wire, and instead of saying, oh, that's 50 quid, something like that, shall we say, it probably more like 200 quid. Then he would say, he instead of concentrating on that and finish, he'll go round and find something else to do, and the next minute you'll find, yes, how much would that to make with this job cost, see? So he's got that, and then he'll go round and he'll pull something out from somewhere else, and then he'll say, oh, that's pulled out, so instead of this job costing you 150 quid, shall we say, he ended up pulling this out, pulling that out, and you end up with about 500 or 600.
Lot of money, though.
I know, but he was making for all that money, which was not necessary.
Yes.
In other words, he was making money out of the person, which was like you say, changing one light bulb.
Yes.
He ended up in half a dozen bulbs.
Yes,
in other words, he was putting money in his pocket.
Yes.
And he was not. It wasn't really fully authorised. And he was the job. In other words, he was fiddling it to get more money out of the job.
So what you done? You told the authorities, or you told the...
No, but this next door neighbour, and he said, "Bastard bugger," he said, he's, the
neighbour knows. The neighbour.
I only asked him to sort one thing out. I didn't expect, and when he came back,
he asked more money.
It was more jobs he found.
Yes.
And he added, and when he got to the point, he said, oh, this wants doing, that wants doing, that wants doing. In the end, the bloke said, that's what I want done, not all this lot.
Oh, okay.
So in the end, he had to pay a little bit more. That he paid a bit more to clear what he wanted, and then he said, shut up. In other words, that is all I'm going to pay. And
so how much? £1,000?
And then the bloke came at him and said, that is all I'm going to clear with. If you take anything like that, I'll take it legally. So in the end, he shut down. And he pulled up all the other wire.
Yes.
Finished pulling up the wire, and then he left it in the mess.
Oh, they had to go somebody else to do it.
In the end, the bloke said, he said afterwards, he mucked it all up. And he said, and I said, what happened to the other bit of the job then? He said, we tidied it up. And he said, the rest we left. Because he said he would have run me out of pocket.
No money.
And then all it was, like you say, changing the light bulb, and ended up a dozen light bulbs go. In other words, it's stupid. In other words, I only told you to do one bulb, not a dozen bloody other bulbs. In other words, he was making terrific money out of it.
Yes.
And then he said he left it in such a state afterwards.
Yes.
In the end, another freshman came up and he said none of this should have been even pulled out.
Yes.
In other words, he told me the story, but by God, I said, he left it in a worse state than what it was in the first place. Yes. And this was at Selston, and I was doing the garden next door, and I told you about the fence with these bushes that grow like a bush.
Yes.
And they were just stumps in some of it.
Yes.
And I said, well, the only way you're going to do that, cut those out now, the thick ones.
The thick ones, the thick stumps,
the other ones that are no good. And there's a lot of youngsters growing up.
Yes.
So what we did, gradually I keep pushing out the thick stuff and the thin stuff. And you know, in the short time, I think it was about by the summer, I had more shoots than anything. And I said eventually, and I saved him the price of a hedge.
Yes, all right.
I didn't get much thank you out of it because Indians were burdened. And she said, "Oh, there's a bit out the front to do." I said, "I'll come out and do the back." I said, "You, in other words, you want the money, but you're only going to give me the money for the back and not the front." In other words, it was they find more jobs so they could.
Yes.
So you could pay the.
They could pay. They find more jobs that the people can pay.
They don't want to pay.
Yes, I